And thank you so much for staying tuned. We're about to go on to our second panel discussion for the day, which is sponsored by the TIA, Technology Innovation Agency. And the next panel discussion is about sustainable technology startups supported by local and international partners in partnership with TIA. And we do know, once again, quoting Mr. Alvin Toffler, that the great growling engine of change is technology. So I would like to introduce the facilitator of this panel. She goes by the name of Miss Senisha Moonsamy, who's the head of innovation, skills, and enterprise development at TIA. Over to you, Senisha. Okay, Senisha, I think we can't hear your volume is a bit low. You're not completely audible. If you can just rectify that so we can all hear you. It's still a bit far. I'm not sure. Maybe you just need to bring your mic closer, or they just need to increase the volume between the two.
Clear here.
Okay, it's still a bit far.
Just talking.
So the person who's giving you instructions, we can hear them clearly. We just can't hear you. Yes.
Okay, is that better now?
Much better.
Okay, so.
Yeah, much better.
Okay, thank you so much. So, thank you for that warm welcome. I'm Senisha Moonsamy from the Technology Innovation Agency. I'd like to welcome my panel members today. We have with us the DDG from the Department of Science and Innovation, Dr. Mboneni, who's heading up the technology and innovation sector. I also have with me the CEO of EWCETA, Mpho. Welcome, Mpho, for today's panel. I also have with me the World Bank, Ganesh Ragasam, who's from the World Bank, that's joining us on the Corporate Innovation Challenge that we're partaking in. I also have from the International Youth Fund, Anusha Naicker. Thank you for joining me today. And then I have Dr. Wynand from Skillsbook, who's going to help us with facilitating the session today. And I must say, because of Youth Month, I'm proud to say we have two SMMEs that will join us today. One of them was our winner out of the Leaders in Innovation Fellowship Program. Thank you for joining me, excellent. And then we also have the Swiss Venture Leader winner, which is Mukundi, that's with us today. So without further ado, I know we started off late. I'd like to hand over to Dr. Goosen, who's with me today, to take us through looking at sustainable startups in South Africa. Just setting the scene for us today, Dr. Goosen.
Thank you very much, Senisha. Thank you very much, colleagues. Welcome. Very nice to be with you today on this very cold day in Johannesburg, might I add. I think that all of us are probably quite coveted out at this stage of the ball game, so we won't be talking about that today, fortunately. But suffice it to say, I think that we're all quite aware of the added impact that this has had on the dire situation with regards to unemployment in South Africa. Depending on which level of statistics you're looking at, it appears as if the South African unemployment rate is at the moment roughly about the 30.2, 30 to 30.6%. Some websites have reported that it's amounting to roughly about 7.2 million people that are currently unemployed. At 7.2 million people, it requires that if we start looking at this in terms of what it would require for the economy, the formal economy to absorb 7.2 million individuals into jobs, it's quite a magnificent impact. And just a sort of a type of a crude, rudimentary type of model suggests that 7.2 million people, if they should be employed at 5,000 Rand a month salary on average, would require about an additional 70 billion Rand of additional GDP per month, which roughly works out to about 840 billion Rand per year. Added to a GDP of roughly about 4 billion per year, it requires a quantum leap in economic growth of around 20% just to simply absorb unemployment, never mind all of the additional activities that it would require. My point, however, is thus: I think that we will all agree that for the existing formal business economy as it stands, to have a quantum leap of 20% growth is something which is a pipe dream, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. There are too many system constraints and too many missed opportunities at this stage of the game to get to it in even the near future. However, I do believe that there is a way in which huge impact can be made and a big dent can be hit into this. And the answer, of course, is through SME development and technology. We are talking, for example, at the moment of various opportunities, both locally as well as internationally. And it's amazing about how many really big names are coming to the party and saying, look, we are prepared to engage with you, we're prepared to talk to you, etc. And on that basis, where we are at right now is that if we could start looking from a point of view for technology development of potential models and ecosystems where we can build opportunities for young people, especially and Black females, to participate, it would really go a long way. Suffice it to say that unemployment in these industries, if you look at, for example, 38% of young Black females are unemployed today. Something like 60% of the youth are unemployed. It really is something that requires creative solutions. This can only be addressed through technology, but it doesn't have to be high-level technology. I mean, so many times I talk to people in South Africa and I say to them, look, we don't need to create Elon Musks. What we need to do is to create perhaps 1,000 ladies that can engage in micro farming and perhaps 10,000 additional hairdressers locally, and maybe we could train 100,000 people in construction. If I think, for example, of some of the programs that I'm working with Anusha Naicker from the IYF in Polokwane, where the need is absolutely massive, the opportunity is also massive, and technology aided to the party can make a big difference. Let me give a specific example. One of the programs that we're currently working on is very simply a system whereby we can train a cohort of people as handymen to do general repair. Adding that to an Uber-style app, for example, enables them to connect to their market. It also gives the market an automatic quality assurance principle and an automatic assurance principle of getting the product that they think they would be paying for. Now, this is just one example of many out there of what one can do to fast track, accelerate, and develop economic development in South Africa to give an enormous, can I say, punch to the problem of unemployment. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Dr. Goosen. I must say, we always hear that government is not doing enough. And I must say, with the Department of Science and Innovation, under the leadership of Dr. Mboneni, is going to share with us what have we been doing, in terms of how does the DSI look at technology startups and how does these startups be included exactly into inclusive innovation. So I'd like to hand over now to Dr. Mboneni from the Department of Science and Innovation, who will really look at what can young South Africans do in the technology innovation space. Over to you, Dr. Mboneni.
Thanks very much, Senisha. And I just want to also acknowledge the fellow panel members. And I just, can't appreciate enough the kind of scene setting that Professor Goosen has done, because that basically plays to some of the issues that we've been working on. And as Senisha has said, our biggest drive now is how do we actually move to deal with these challenges by approaching this from an inclusive approach point of view. And what that means is that, firstly, you have to identify the areas where we have traditionally, especially us in the science sector, not focused on. We always argue that a whole lot of our programs seem to be primarily located mainly where the 3 provinces are dominant: your Gauteng, Western Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. And even KwaZulu-Natal is not the whole of it, but just really the Durban Metro. So we therefore have really gotten into this route of inclusiveness, 1, but 2, looking at the role that technology can play. Because one thing that we need to be mindful of is that the opportunities, especially for young people, are not going to be created through the normal approach of doing things where you think that young people need to be running around doing things like catering and selling things, etc. But it's about how they can use their experiences and creatively come with technologies and innovations that can actually make people's lives easier. And this is really where we come in. So our programs around inclusive development is about how do we provide instruments that will support these young people wherever they are. And we are mindful, of course, of the fact that the bulk of the challenges that they sit with is actually around skills development. And we have therefore started to look at how can we support the development of innovation skills. And this work we are doing with some of the sitters who have come on board, which we really appreciate, because without the partnership with the sitters, especially work that we did with the water and energy sitter, it has really highlighted how we can actually bring on board some of the young people who could be in the periphery. And what we're looking at is not for them just to be employable, but also to realize that, as Professor Goosen has said, that some of the opportunity are going to be on how they can Uberize themselves on the basis of their skills, to be able to go out there and do work that needs to be done, because there's a lot around skills that when you have those skills, definitely you know there's going to be demand for those skills, and then you're going to need to be able to fill that particular gap. So that is really the path that we have chosen to take as the Department of Science and Innovation, to really, 1, support entrepreneurship on the tech space, but 2, to support the development of relevant and related skills, including those entrepreneurship and innovation skills, but also them just understanding that when you start a business, what are the pitfalls that you need to avoid? And I'm quite pleased that we're having this discussion during the Youth Month, where we have some of our upcoming and really the future of what we're looking at when we talk about tech entrepreneurship. And that's really in the form of Mukundi and Excellent. I want to say we want to really look at what is going on in your space, and as far as we can, either through our entity, the Technology Innovation Agency, we are going to find ways of supporting you to grow, because we need to find much inclusive ways of creating opportunities for employment than we currently have, because the formal sector is not going to manage to deal with the challenge that we're having. So I just stop there, and then we'll take the rest of the issues as we go on. And the last point perhaps that I need to make is, how do we actually trigger some of the international partnerships to create these things to come into fruition. And that is really going to be in the form of unlocking some of the funding globally, but also the markets as well, because some of the innovations that are coming through, they basically know no borders. So we need to be able to create that platform where, through partnerships, we can enable the internationalization of local entrepreneurs. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Mmboneni. I mean, it's been really an honor to be working with you, as we've seen in the past Global Cleantech Award program, how the youth have come through a SMME development program over a year. And that has really, really been with inclusive innovation, really looking at challenges in communities, coming up with the solutions. And for us, it's just how do we support them going forward? So I think for all of us, it's just about SMME development, but really looking at sustainable outcomes. And that cannot be done without our CETAs on board. So I'd like to welcome our next speaker, who is the CEO of the EW CETA, Mpho, who will really look at, in terms of the COVID pandemic, how does the CETAs really play a role in the economic reconstruction and recovery plan for SMME development? So over to you, CEO.
Thank you very much, Senisha, and good morning to everyone in the room and the fellow panelists. I'm coming back on the platform at Skills Summit, where I think the last time one of the major discussion around skills development was the fragmentation, and I'm coming back happily with a smile to say that I've been seeing a number of I think integration and alignment even between governments. And just maybe to add on to even what the previous speaker was talking to, and very relevant to the topic today, how we align from a skills development to the innovation in the country and the research that's been done in the country. So for me, I'll just talk on, I think, on 2 points. From the National Skills Development Plan, one of the key outcomes is to ensure that we are supporting skills development for SMMEs, which is entrepreneurship, for entrepreneurship, and also for cooperatives. And one of the things from a skills development authority what we've identified is that we haven't really, there hasn't been maybe much research with regards to what are the reasons some of our entrepreneurs aren't making it, because we do have a lot of entrepreneurs, we do have a lot of innovation that is coming out in our country, but we're not seeing this being rolled out. And there is a couple of studies that are being conducted in order for us to really identify the root causes and respond to such. But one of the key things when I look at the DSI, from what Mboneni was talking to also, there's a lot of innovation technologies that are being developed. And what EWCETA is doing now is to ensure that we're not shelving innovation, is how do we align ourselves to what the DSI is coming up with and what other research houses are coming up with, so that we start capacitating our people to either roll it out from with employers as solutions to major employers, or also as SMMEs, as entrepreneurs. We do have a couple of projects that are lined up in partnerships with international and our local partners that I will just highlight. Our key objective as EWCETA is to ensure that there's inclusive economic participation. The reality is that we cannot have young people and we cannot have entrepreneurs participating in an economy that is driven by technology if they don't have access to the technology, or they don't understand the technology that is existing. So we also in our plans moving away from only doing training, but also ensuring that we are giving access to entrepreneurs to the technologies, to funding the technologies, so that we send them out into the country to implement such technologies. When you talked about the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, the reality is that it's happening, and I'm going to also bring in the just energy transition, and I'm going to bring in the element of just and inclusiveness in this. The reality is that we have to reconstruct, we have to recover, and it is happening right now. And we might wake up after 5 years and realize that a lot of people have been left behind. That just element, and I'm talking about the just element, not only in the energy space, but also even in the water space, that we might leave a lot of young people who do have solutions, who do have the capabilities behind, because we are wanting, obviously the objective is for us to recover. So in the economic recovery and reconstruction plan from our sector, we've got the energy security, which is a challenge, and we've got infrastructure challenges, and also from a water space, a lot of number of challenges there. And we believe that the young people in our country do have solutions to this. And I'm going to give you one example. What we are running across the country is a project with one of our young SMMEs, where we're looking at 4IR enabled solutions, where we've done a call out and we received exceptional proposal from young people who are proposing techno solution to resolve energy and water challenges that we have in South Africa. And this for me is, and we are also funding the actual technology. We're giving them access to the technology and walking hand in hand with them, and not just putting them for 2 days in class and say, go and roll out the solution, walking hand in hand with them to capacitate them, to mentor them, and to assist them in rolling out those solutions. And this talks to the sustainable part. We can count the amount of money and the number of entrepreneurs that we funded in the country. And the question of, are they still running today? Are they profitable? Are these sustainable businesses? And it takes us in the room to work together to ensure that sustainability. From international partners, we do have Rest for Africa. I know it's an Italian partner whom we are working with in the energy space to ensure that as we are moving on a just energy transition, we are not leaving some of our SMMEs behind. There's massive businesses in there. There's money in that space. Young people have solutions and need to be part of that big pie. We do have one of the key things that we are talking to the Chinese partners. We've got a lot of, there is international technology, there's local technologies. We're looking at a Chinese partner where we're going to take entrepreneurs from China and partner them with entrepreneurs in South Africa to work on local solutions. And for us, we think this, for us, we don't want South Africa only to develop local products that are not internationally benchmarked. So we know that this for us will yield creativity and yield about solutions that I know that will be rolled out around the country. We do have, I don't want to, I know I only have only 5 minutes, but we do have a couple of partners, even locally, Innovation Hub, that we also want to get SMMEs to be involved in the small scale embedded generation. That is an area where we can play a major role there. Thank you, Senisha. I won't take the whole day.
Senisha, you're muted.
Exciting, and I think I'm really looking forward to us signing our partnership agreement going forward. So thank you so much for that. I now would like to introduce a colleague from the World Bank, Ganesh, where we looked at with the Department of Science and Innovation, Corporate Innovation Challenge with the plug and play unit. So Ganesh, over to you.
Thank you, Senisha. Good morning, colleagues. And I was just fascinated listening to the rich interventions that I've been hearing from my panelists. There's so much happening in South Africa, and it's a very dynamic ecosystem. So Senisha has asked me to talk a little bit about the Corporate Innovation Challenge that we are supporting the Department of Science and Innovation to organize and implement. This is a partnership between the World Bank, our private sector arm, the IFC, Business Unity South Africa, BUSA, and of course the DSI, and Plug and Play Tech Center, which I think many of you would have heard of. They are one of the global leaders in corporate innovation challenges. So they are a tech partner. So why are we doing this? The idea is to demonstrate the impact of what corporate innovation can actually contribute towards the agenda of innovation and job creation. And we have identified. We went out and sourced a number of corporates. We're happy to say that we have 12 amongst the leading corporates in South Africa, 12 of them, organizations like Sanlam, PepsiCo, GE, and so forth. And all this information which I'm presenting is available on a link, which I think Senisha can share with all of you after this session. And so we have a rich set of tech focus areas from these 12 corporates, across a range of sectors: F&B, property management, insurtech, fintech, energy, and so forth. And covering the range of technologies that are what we consider cutting edge, from AI applications to data analytics, and so on. So we're quite excited to see this rich set of user cases, and of course the corporates bring access to markets, possibly access to finance, access to global networks, and so forth. So Right now, we just launched the call for startups to participate in this challenge. That was launched a couple of days ago, and we're using the DSI's Innovation Bridge portal as the platform for startups to apply for this challenge, and then they will go through the plug and play process. So we have a rigorous process in place to select the best startups and then match them to the corporates on what we're calling the challenge day, which is on the 16th of July, where the corporates will select the startups whom they want to work with. And then, we hope that we will have maybe 15 to 20 of the startups match made with the corporates. So the real work starts after that. So what happens after that? So then we will continue to support the startups in these partnerships through, targeted coaching, mentoring, training requirements, and possibly funding support. TIA is a close partner in this, and some of their startups will be part of this challenge, and they will also, support these partnerships. And we hope to demonstrate that, out of this 15, 20 partnerships, a number of them, hopefully many of them, will be successful ventures, leading to, disruptive tech solutions in the markets. So of course, the inclusiveness agenda is important. We're looking at some of these tech solutions to possibly support township economic development solutions and so forth. So we'll see where we come out. And one of the interesting things about this is that you want to attract a rich pool of startups. And of course, 15, 20 of them will qualify for these partnerships, but the rest of them, we want to bring them into a program, let's say an investment readiness program, excuse me, where we can support them to develop their ventures further. So there's a pipeline of investable ventures that come out of this challenge. And so that is quite exciting. And we want to do that in partnership with of course, the DSI through the Innovation Bridge portal, through a e-community that we're trying to set up together with the partners, where we can have the entrepreneurs, we can have the business support organization, the funders, the resources available, and then have a more targeted approach to supporting these startups. So let me stop here, and the more information is available on the link with Senisha. I hope you can share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ganesh. I think working with the World Bank and the Department of Science and Innovation over the past few months, you have really brought on board Corporate South Africa. And I think we're looking forward to the challenge. And for our SMMEs and our youth out there, the participation would really be welcomed. I now would like to hand over to Anusha Naicker, who's from the International Youth Foundation, who has really been working very, very closely with Dr. Goosen on looking at SMME development and how they can strengthen the ecosystem for our youth in South Africa. Over to you, Anusha.
Thanks a lot, Senisha. What an honor it is to join this panel today. I think as a country director of IYF, an international NGO that operates globally in aiming to equip young people with the skills required for both the workplace as well as entrepreneurial activity, we certainly avail of lots of current research. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what some of that research tells us about innovation skills for the future. Now, it's clear that the world of work is undergoing rapid and deep changes brought about by technological development, demographics, globalization, and climate change. And these trends are affecting the composition of employment, the nature of the tasks carried out at work, and the skills required in the labor market. And they're also putting enormous pressure on traditional education and training systems, calling for improved quality and new approaches to lifelong learning. We're seeing more and more that skills development is pivotal in helping turn these challenges into opportunities. And improved and enhanced skills have contributed significantly to productivity increases and are instrumental in enabling people to benefit from new opportunities, be those in the formal workplace or in entrepreneurial activity. At the same time, lifelong learning and active labor market programs, along with social protection measures, are important buffers to help young people manage transitions between institutions of learning and the workplace and adjust to change. Due to rapid changes in technology, automation, and the workplace itself, as well as the disconnect between the skills young people are prepared with and those needed to succeed in the 21st century, half of all young people will not have the basic skills necessary for the workforce by 2020. To this end, I'd like to talk to a program that IYF has partnered with Dr. Goosen and his team to launch in the country. It is called the Google program. So IYF has partnered with Google to equip hundreds of young people in South Africa with the Google IT certificate. And this is against the backdrop of digital learning and moving into the digital learning era, as well as equipping young people with innovative skills. So the certificate itself, I mean, equipping young people with digital learning and innovation itself is a huge achievement. But what we've done through engagement with Dr. Goosen and his team is not only equip the young people with the knowledge and the skills, but also ensure that we've partnered locally with various host employers, various government departments to ensure that after successful completion of the certificate program, young people are moved into the workplace where they can display the skills that they've acquired over the program. You know, I must say, additionally, we see huge value in convening a diverse set of employers, industry leaders, academics, policymakers, practitioners, and most critically, youth, to bring together rigorous evidence and experience to enhance the skills and innovation readiness of young people.
Come in there. If I can maybe come in there, thanks. I just wanted to maybe add to what Anusha was saying, by saying that increasingly there are so many international collaborations coming to the fore in South Africa. It's actually really heartwarming to realize how we are truly joining the international community in terms of skills development, training, and education. In this particular instance with the Google certificate, the program in principle, for example, works on the basis that a person must have a TVET qualification, or in the final throes of completing a TVET qualification, and in some cases also South African learnerships and internships. And what is then added is this Google certificate, which basically supercharges and internationalizes the learner's portfolio and makes them such a more worthy candidate for employment than what it was before. In addition, it also means that it's a truly industry-based qualification combined with academic qualifications, both locally and internationally, making our students and our young graduates a truly international product at the end of the day. And that is actually something which is fantastic. The optimism that we have as far as this is concerned is nothing short of profound. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Goosen. So I think from my side, as we look at international programs, one of the programs that we've been running with the 7th cohort on the go is the Leaders in Innovation Fellowship Program, totally funded by the UK government, the UK Newton Fund, and really championed under our Department of Science and Innovation. So today, as we celebrate, like we said, Youth Month, I've invited 2 of our entrepreneurs to share their journey with us. And one of them is Excellent, that was in the UK, that did the program, really focusing on commercialization, because at the end of the day, it is about the product reaching the market, and it is about his customers, and how do we support him. So Excellent, I'd like you to please share with us your entrepreneurial journey with the rest of the Skills Summit. Thank you, and over to you, Excellent.
day, everyone. I hope that you can still hear me. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for extending the invitation, Senisha. I really appreciate the opportunity to just share my story and a little bit also in terms of how we are participating in the skills development setup. So just a little bit of background in terms of our company and what we actually do is that so I come from a company called Labster. It's a technology startup, and what we are focusing on is helping organizations that develop software in-house, particularly, to do so much more productively and much more efficiently. And we do this by using a technology that we've developed in partnership with the TIA. Who has been the main funder of the development of the innovation itself. So that's what the technology itself is intended for. But I would like to just step away a little bit from that and focus more on what else we've actually been able to do, especially in the social impact part of things, where we really took a look at this and said, look, we've been able to, we had this opportunity to put together this platform that not only makes, helps people be more productive and do things better in terms of their technology innovation, in terms of their software innovation, but it actually creates a new opportunity and lowers the barrier to entry for people coming into software development and trying to build their skills. And for me, this is something that was, quite a privileged point, because the way that I looked at it was, when you look at software and software development, it's a branch of software of engineering. But what really makes it unique is how accessible it can be to people with little infrastructure. And if you look at the African continent, for example, where we still have a lot of challenges relating to infrastructure, relating to just the advancements that are enjoyed by the first world countries, it really is something that can be leveraged for us to really play a productive role in terms of exporting technology. So as such, what we've done is that while we were developing technology, we also started building a community of software developers. And now the point of building the community was to actually start an international collaboration where on a regular basis, we are able to sit down and say, where is the future of technology going? Where is the future of software development going? And most importantly, how can we help create that future? And I'm a firm believer in that the best way to predict the future is to partake in creating that future. And that's really what we've done. And through this collaboration, so we were able to establish over 11 chapters of our developer initiatives in countries such as Kenya, Nigeria, Mozambique, South Africa, as well as Angola and Kenya. And what started happening and what we started learning through this process was that Africans truly are unique. We always look for ways to empower each other. And what we started seeing was that in this thing that we thought was just a community of software developers, we started seeing hints of people trying to form collaborations even across borders. And we decided to take advantage of that. And I'm happy to announce that through the partnership with TIA as well as the DSI, we've been able to put together a new program where, leveraging this community, we are able to take trainee software developers that are still undergoing academic training. What we are doing is that we take them in small teams, and then we pair them with experienced developers that are already out in the industry. And something that is also unique in the software space is that you get a lot of people that are quite advanced in terms of their careers that want to do something outside of their day-to-day job. And that's usually where a lot of startup spin-offs actually come from, because people, as they advance in their careers, they start to notice that, look, there are more problems I would like to solve. There's more things I would like to do to make an impact, but they just don't have the bandwidth to do it all. So by partnering those senior developers with these junior developers that are looking for practical training, that are looking to actually apply their skills in real projects, solving real problems, we've actually been able to create an environment where a senior developer with a good idea or with a project that is sometimes even funded can have a set of developers that are looking for practical experience necessary for them to then go out there and find job opportunities, can come together and work on this real project. And this facilitates a great deal of knowledge exchange. And at the same time, it is actually creating value, because in the end, you end up with a product. You can even end up with a startup coming out of that. And we are seeing that happening. And this program has only been running for just a little over a month. This for me is something really exciting, because it means as a startup, as a technology company, as small as we are, we're not only focusing on making an impact in terms of the people that we can directly employ, but we are in the position where we can actually help create a platform where more opportunities can be created. And I think that's very relevant, especially during the time that we are going through in terms of the pandemic. You are seeing a lot of shift where companies are being digitized, and they're looking more and more to try and do things in a more creative ways, and software is at the center of that. And by empowering our people to really partake in helping make this possible for these organizations, we are creating even more opportunities. And my personal dream is to see by maybe the year 2030, to see Africa being known really as the exporter of technology innovations, especially in this software space, and really being known as the go-to place when it comes to leveraging such kinds of services. So I'm really excited to hear all what the other panelists have been doing. I won't take any more of your time, but I'm really keen to have a conversation further with each and every one of you. And thank you for having me here. It's really exciting for me. Thanks, Senisha.
Thank you so much for that. Excellent. I think for me, looking at you in the LEAF program and how you've progressed for you becoming a sustainable startup and really willing to assist going forward with other young people in the development space, that will be absolutely amazing. Because like we said, without mentorship and without the youth leading the youth, the journey becomes that much more difficult. So thank you for coming on board and sharing your story with us today. I must say, one of our very good partners over the past 10 years has been with the University of Basel in Switzerland on the Venture Leader program. So for the first year last year, the program was only done online because the 10 top candidates couldn't travel to Switzerland. But with that being said, Mukundi, one of our young female entrepreneurs from Limpopo, won the Swiss South Africa pitch battle that was online at the Innovation Summit. So I'm not going to say anything about Mukundi. I think she speaks for herself. She won the Swiss battle, and she also was the top student out of the Venture Leader program in South Africa. So Mukundi, I'd like to hand over to you just to share your journey and where you're at the moment. And for me, your innovation linked to the EdTech space is absolutely critical at this moment in time. So over to you, Mukundi.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be part of this panel. And it was actually great hearing from Excellent, where I think we're a little bit younger in our entrepreneurial journey, but it's so great to have those sort of peer examples and to see how their journey has been and where we can potentially go. So my name is Mukundi. I'm from Thohoyandou in Limpopo. I live here and I work from here, and I'm grateful to be working from home. And last year's winner of the TIA Swiss Venture Leaders program. So Ambani Africa, the word Ambani actually means to speak in Chivenda. So Ambani Africa is a technology company, and we're really focused on how we can make education more accessible through technology and through language. So a lot of times what you find is that young learners in the foundation phase will speak a certain language at home. So you'll speak an African language at home. You get to school, you are taught in English, and you're also learning English. So as you can imagine, it's very difficult to learn a new language well enough to be able to learn through it. And so what we really do is try and bridge that gap And you find that a lot of times these learners are good communicators in their own language at home, but they tend to struggle at school. So we use technology and language to make education more accessible. And we do this through various technologies. One is through augmented reality. So this is where you're able to use your device and you're able to really place a virtual object in your immediate environment. So one of the ways in which we do this is through augmented reality books. And so if you have a device like a phone, you're able to open the book, you're able to see certain things come to life, and you're able to select the language. So at the moment we have 6 languages. We've got English, isiZulu, isiXhosa, Sepedi, Setswana, and Tshivenda on our app. We also did something we call a WhatsApp learning experience. And this was where we found that particularly during the lockdown, certain learners who had access to a computer and internet at home were able to seamlessly continue their education, whereas others who didn't have these facilities weren't. And so we thought, what is a social media platform that their parents do have that we could potentially use for learning? And that was WhatsApp. So we partnered with a school in Diepsloot and were able to initiate a pilot project where grade 1 learners were able to learn reading strategies, comprehension through a daily WhatsApp bot. So these are just the different ways in which we really try and leverage and use technology in order to make education more accessible, but also more enjoyable, because I think, as mentioned, lifelong learning is so important. And this is really the point where you develop your relationship with learning. And so we're trying to find ways to use technology to make that relationship enjoyable. So through the Department of Science and Technology and through TIA, we were able to join the South African and Swiss joint program. We were given business development training. We were given mentorship. We were also given a small grant that has really helped us get our product to product market fit. And so we're at the point where we're market ready, and the next effort is really getting that follow-on support to get our product to those who need it. But I think particularly being able to interact with international businesses, first of all, or other startups, and being on that international stage and being able to validate our business, which we thought was a very local thing because we're focusing on languages, but being on that stage, we actually realized the scale potential of the technology and of the business. And I think all of the support, the business development, the mentorship, even just being with other peer businesses, with other startups, which we still have a relationship with, we still sort of connect with each other, has been incredibly beneficial to our business journey. And we're looking forward to the journey ahead. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mukundi. I think it's really inspiring to hear your journey. And for me, just looking at you, being a young female coming on this journey with us, it's been, how do we really get more female entrepreneurs like you into these programs? And I think your journey truly inspires the youth out there to come on board into these programs. I'd like to hand over to our DDG, if you'd like to ask any questions or give any other remarks with regards to the panel. DDG, over to you. DDG is able to connect.
Apologies, my screen was
thank you, DDG. We're seeing you now.
Thanks very much. And I just want to acknowledge all the inputs that I have picked up at this point in time. And the one thing that I'm really wanting to ask, and I just want to really go back to especially our young entrepreneurs. Out of the experience that you have had, and this is both to Mukundi and to Excellent, one, what is it that you would want, especially us in government, to do so that we can look back and have more than one Mukundi and more than one Excellent as we move forward? And I'm asking this very much genuinely, so that even as we try and look at some of the newer commitments that we're doing, that we actually take the lessons coming out of your experiences with. So I really just want to throw that back to you. And then this is just going to be a comment, and that goes to the work that Professor Goosen is doing. And we've already had some discussions with the World Bank on other initiatives, is to really say, what is it that we can build up? And when I say us here, I'm talking about myself and Senisha, who is helping me in dealing with these issues of inclusive development, that we can actually do together to build on what you're doing, to amplify the impact of what you're doing. So those are really just the two comments and also the questions that I definitely want Mukundi and Excellent to respond to.
If I can just come in there. Thank you for the question. This is something that I have given quite a bit of a thought myself, because prior to actually engaging with the government agencies and actually getting the support, you know, I was one of the people that thought or really believed that the government isn't doing enough. And having gone through this process, I've since learned that there is so much that is going on that is being done within the government structures. I think really where the challenge is the access when it comes to now actually linking the people that are looking for these types of opportunities, and as well as the you know, the measures that have been put in place on the government side of things. I know, for instance, of a lot of people that would often make, you know, the similar types of comments I used to make before, just regarding how hard it is to actually, you know where to go, who to talk to in terms of unlocking these types of opportunities. And I think it's a, you know, there's a lot that can actually be unlocked by addressing the awareness aspect of things in terms of, you know, what the government is doing, what the government affiliates and agencies are actually doing. And I think that that alone can really help, you know, expose the support structures that are out there, because there are support structures, and they, you know, and there are initiatives that can really benefit people. But I think just accessibility is just one of the big problems. And I think just the you know, the experience that I've had just looking at you know, the failure rate of companies. It's just one of those things that if you get into entrepreneurship and you want to become a spectacular success, you have to also agree that you may become a spectacular failure. So that is part of the risk. But I think one of the things that can really be done in terms of you know, helping lower that that risk is really through these types of initiatives that I've been fortunate enough to actually be part of. And I would personally, I would love to see more support being put in place, especially in terms of these like international connections, you know, and international collaborations, where our world really opens up in cases like this. And I've been able to do this a couple of times, where I've sort of been able to take my idea, go out to the US, test it there, and collaborate with people. And you really start to see that we have some unique challenges, but also someone else may have solved that challenge already. So I'm really a big fan of these cross-border collaborations, and I would love to see you know, the government really getting in on helping facilitate these, and also helping support these types of structures. And then the last thing that I've come to really appreciate is seeing the organizations that are tasked with providing funding, not only doing that, but going an extra mile to say that, you know, over and above the funding that we are providing, this is also what we are going to help you with in terms of the support, structure. And I think that lowers, de-risks the investment itself, but also furthermore, it gives an even a better order of success for the startup or for the innovator that is being funded. Thank you.
Definitely. In terms of local and international partnerships, I can't thank our partners more in terms of all of the local partners, the mentors, and the trainers, facilitators that have come on board into these various programs. But I think, DDG, just to respond to your question around how can Dr. Goosen look at, how can we upscale and look at opportunities within the inclusive innovation field, I'd like to just hand over to you, Dr. Wynand. We have like 2 minutes to wrap up.
Thank you
and
so
over
much.
to you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Excellent guests, and DDG, if I may, to answer your question, I think through what is busy happening with the international collaborations, etc. Through the international collaborations, can everybody hear me? Through the international collaborations such as IYF, Google, etc., and many others, of course, I think what is busy happening, in the past, people were always looking at government to just simply provide funding. Yes, of course, government, we are going to ask for funding. But I think what has changed dramatically is that now it's become a situation where government has become a catalytic fund. And with a catalytic fund, what I mean is that literally it is the first rand that unlocks the rest of the co-funding models, which is really falling into place internationally. But it's also more of a question of not just learnerships and internships as we've known them in the past, but perhaps a little bit more structured. The stuff that I like to talk about and also have been working with IYF and Polokwane, etc., with the SEZ, is stuff where we are looking at what we call an ecosystem. We really have to create ecosystems, and we've got to focus on economic emancipation rather than just a job. We've got to focus on creating an individual that has the ability to earn a living, rather than just the creation of an ability to find a job on its own. It's much more than just finding a job. It's about creating a mindset and a mentality, and that's perhaps the most important thing, a mentality change of what do I have to do as an individual in order to sustain myself. And if we could get government to assist us in that and to get that message out, that it's not just about government, it's also about the individual, the people on the ground. It's time we also start saying to government as the citizens of this country, what can we do for you? And not just the other way around. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Goosen. I'd really like to thank Dr. Mmboneni for all his support at the department. I think we are finally on the brink of, we have an ecosystem that has been created for young South Africans. And we're hoping that through this journey, we won't just stop at the Skill Summit, but we can report back next year on what has been achieved, really to upscale and upskill the rest of the youth of this country. So thank you very much to my panel members.
Thank you very much, Senisha, for conducting the panel discussion. Very, very informative. I think, we're still here with all these COVID masks and so forth. Sorry that we tuned in a bit late. Thank you very much to your guest of honor as well, and to all the panel members that have contributed to the discussion. And we truly look forward to engaging further with some of the insights that have been provided. Thank you. We're now going to our second panel for the day. We're going to take a short ad break, but the upcoming panel is called Future Proofing Skills. The World Economic Forum, as mentioned earlier, predicts that we need to reskill more than 1 billion people by 2030 as jobs are transformed by the fourth industrial revolution. So I'm looking at a conversation where we don't look at replacing people or certain workforce with machinery, but actually empowering them so that, automation and the fourth industrial revolution and even AI works next to, or rather parallel to people. So what are the skills that we need for the future, particularly for the year 2030? We'll be having this discussion after this, but please don't forget to visit our social media platforms, hashtag Skills Summit 2021 across the board. Add your comments, add your feedback, and we look forward to answering you accordingly. We'll be joined by our panel discussion shortly after this.